Hi, welcome to ED 590 Research and Education. I'll be your instructor for this semester course, and my name is Dr. Brittany Hinkle. And I just want to welcome y'all all to this course, and I'll go ahead and open us up in a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day that you've given us, and I just pray that you will be with us and guide us as we dive into research and education. And I pray that you would help us become better equipped to be able to serve you as we embark on this journey together. And I just pray for each one of my students and their families that you would just be with them, give them wisdom and direction as they move forward in this time in their life to help others in education. And we thank you so much for all the many blessings that you've given us and for your son who has died on the cross for us. And we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen for our Moodle course, and it's titled Research and Education at the top. You'll see my name here, Dr. Brittany Hinkle. And here's my email address. Feel free to email me throughout the course. This is how you can get a hold of me, through the college email. If you want to use this button right here, you can send me a message, and that's perfectly okay too. If you'd rather do that, I will be checking that. And here's my personal phone number. So if you want to text me, if it's urgent, you can do that and let me know you sent me an email, or just give me a call, and that's perfectly fine. So in this course, we'll introduce educational research, and you're going to learn the nature, the planning, different methods, the design of research, several approaches, and how to apply it, and veracity of an educational research project. And here's a news forum and a Q&A forum. I'll talk about more about those as we get into the course. Right here under course materials, you'll see we have our course syllabus. You will want to get a 3-ring binder and print these materials out and put dividers in there, because you will be turning that in at the end of the semester. And as we go through this, I'll give you more information, but I just kind of want to go over it, just a quick overview. And so here's the course description again, and we have the goals of the course here. So at the end of the course, you'll be able to differentiate between 2 different types of research, quantitative and qualitative. And we will go into mixed methods design as well, but 2 primary ones to distinguish would be your quantitative and your qualitative approaches. You will design a research project by walking through the steps of the educational research process, and we do touch base on that in the first chapter. You will develop a research problem, research questions, and form a hypothesis. And if there's any typos in any of this, please feel free to let me know. I do know there needs to be a comma right there, so there will be changes made throughout the course. So it will not offend me if you want to just say, hey, Dr. Hinkle, I noticed this isn't quite right. And then I'm working to get all of that rectified. So next at the bullet it says conduct a review of the literature. So you're going to do a literature review, and once you've chosen your research topic, and I will help you through each step, and we'll take it bit by bit. So by the end of the course, you would have a nearly completed research project minus the actual research part. So you're going to do everything except for actually conducting the study. You're going to collect different types of data. You could use different types of instruments for that. And then you'll evaluate different articles as you're forming your literature review and your research paper. Here are the 2 textbooks that are required for the course. Creswell 2019, and here's the title. And you will be reading weekly on that out of that book, and I recommend that you stay a week ahead. So that way, whenever you go into the next week, you've already have a foundational understanding of kind of what the chapter is about. So as we go through our discussion, you'll have that base of knowledge to come off from. And then next is the um, publication manual of the APA. So we're going to be using the American Psychological Association format whenever we do cite sources. And what I suggest, what I did when I was in my doctorate program, is I got my APA manual and I tabulated it. So I got little Post-it notes and I put tabs on each section of my manual, like where it says manuscript or bias in language or spelling in hyphens, how to do statistical copies, your reference lists, tables, and etc. So that way it's just easy to thumb through and find what you're looking for. And that's really been a lifesaver to me. And I had the 6th edition, I did that. And so now I just got the 7th edition, and I will be doing that to mine. And it's just very helpful. Okay, so page 2, our course requirements. You are going to be reading the textbook, of course. You're going to have videos to watch and some other weekly readings, like different manuscript examples and etc. I suggest you save those on a thumb drive so that you can reference them even after you're done with this course. You'll have weekly quizzes that will go over the material that we've learned through the chapters, and weekly reflections, your weekly assignments and forum entries as well. And there's going to be discussions, and these will be graded as so. You'll have one that's posted on Monday morning, and you'll have till Thursday, by the end of the day Thursday, to respond to that initial post. And then you're required to go ahead and respond to at least 2 of those. And that deadline will be every Sunday evening. And so then it will close that forum, and I will go in and grade those accordingly to make sure that you did the post and then your content was on spot, your thoughtfulness, grammar, and etc. There's another document that describes that in more detail. Okay, so there will be a midterm and a final exam. You will have your research project, as I discussed with you earlier, and here's some kind of more general information of what to expect, what I expect of that. 12-point font, 1-inch margins, and we'll go through this in more detail as the course unfolds. And here's the notebook that I mentioned. You will need to get that 3-ring notebook and then have these different dividers in there, and then you will, at the end of the course, you're going to create a PowerPoint presentation, and you'll use pictures to present that, your notebook, as well as some other information. Here's the graded scale based on a percent measure. So your weekly quizzes count as 10% of your overall grade. Here's your projects, your forum entries, and your weekly reflections will be 20%. Midterm and final, 20 each. And then your research proposal, that's your research project, will be 20%. And then the notebook that we just talked about will be 10%, and that's all 100%. So we'll go back. If you have any questions about that, please reach out. I'm always here to help answer any of those questions. And then here is our course schedule. So I suggest you print this out. This will tell you what we'll be learning for that week, what chapter you need to read, and the assignments that you have for the class. So it's 2 pages. Okay, here is an APA style tutorial. I won't click in that. I can let you go in there and do the tutorial, and it will give you more information. It's a really good tutorial. I really highly recommend that you do that before you start the course. And you'll have your forum discussion guidelines here. So you have to, on Monday, there'll be 1 to 3 questions posted, and it's recommended that you read a week ahead as much as possible in your material. Your initial post should be about 250 to 350 words in length, and the deadline to post that would be Thursday evening. And it's recommended that you go ahead and type this into like a Word document, like Word or any whatever program you're using, and then you can save it there and then copy and paste it into the text box that's in Moodle. That way you don't lose it, you know how many words it is. Throughout the rest of the week, you'll interact with at least 2 other students in the course, 2 to 3, and respond with a response of 50 to 100 words to them. And those are required by Sunday. And so then the forum will close and it will be graded, and then a new one will open Monday morning. And here's some guidelines that you can go over. I won't read this all to you, but please take the time to do that. And then here is the due dates again, as discussed. Okay, so here's your research proposal paper guidelines. You'll need to print this out, and it will give you step-by-step guidelines of what this should look like. The purpose of this is that the student will think through the process of research and develop a research proposal, and it can be used to study a topic or phenomenon in a Christian school. This project should be a compilation, revision, and extension of work provided throughout the course. So it's not something you're expected to do in 1 week. We will be doing pieces of this bit by bit throughout the semester, and then at the end you'll have the whole research proposal there available, and then you will do some editing and compile it and piece it together and then submit it. So you'll do at least a minimum of 8 pages, not including your title page or reference page. So 8 pages, excluding those. The title page will be a standard college title page. Your proposal, you'll have an introduction, which will include your abstract, and that just summarizes your proposal. And you'll have an introduction to your topic. You'll have a statement of the problem and the purpose of your study. What is the significance or need of the study will be stated, and then your research question. So all of that will constitute your introduction for your proposal. And then I will help you go through and learn how to do a review of your literature. So you'll do a literature review, and then you'll have your methodology. What type of research are you doing, quantitative or qualitative? What research design will you be using? How are you going to select your participants? What kinds of data are you going to collect and why? What is your research design? And so forth. Your reference page will include at least 15 research journals cited. They must follow the APA guidelines, and you will find examples in your manual that we discussed earlier. And it needs to be in 12-point font with Times New Roman, double space with 1-inch margins. Those are the standard guidelines for a research paper. And then your due date will be, you'll submit it in a Word PDF format by the assigned day. And if it's late, it will be reduced by a letter grade for every day that it is late. So you want to make sure you turn that in promptly and on time. Okay, so that was that. So here's the formatting. So here's an example of a research paper and how it's to be formatted. You can see the abstract is in italics. And so this is just for you. Please look over that in more detail and print it out and put it in your 3-ring notebook for reference. And then here is a citation tool, and then we'll go into more of that as well. And so then all of this will be at the top of every week. So you will have this information handy. You can go back and reference it and look at it at your leisure and as you need it. And so here's August 30th through September 5th. This is our first week. It's chapter 1 out of the textbook. It's Introduction to Research and Identifying Research Problems. And we always will have our learning objectives posted right here. You're going to define key terms related to educational research. There's 6 steps involved in the process of researching, and you're going to be able to summarize those. You're going to be able to know the difference between qualitative and quantitative research articles and the methods that were used for each particular study. And you'll be able to identify any ethical issues and concerns with conducting research, because that's something that we want to make sure we're doing, that our research studies are ethical, they are sound, and people can gain from them and they can be used for the Lord. And here's your learning materials. You'll have the PowerPoint here, and then I have it pulled up. So let me go ahead and go through that with you. So here's chapter 1, the process of conducting research using quantitative and qualitative approaches. Okay, so I've already gone over the learning objectives. So the first question that's posed is, what is research? So we're going to define that as a researcher has to have a question. So you're going to develop a question, and you're going to collect data to answer that question. And then after that, you simply just present an answer to that question. The importance of research. Okay, that's going to be on page 4 in your textbook. Okay, let me grab that. Okay, so page 4, 3 important reasons for research. Reason 1, it adds to our knowledge. So there might be a gap in our knowledge of understanding for a particular topic. So we want to add to that. It can expand what we know, replicate what we know, or adds voices of individuals to knowledge. Reason 2, research helps improve practice. So as educators in our field, we want to be able to have sound practice with what we choose to do and how we choose to teach or lead, and to be able to have sound research that backs up our practices can help you get you new ideas that you could use and connect with other educators. Reason 3 is it helps us to inform policy debates. It allows people to weigh different perspectives on issues and enables people to make informed decisions regarding policy. Now, there are problems with research today, and this is what we are going to not do. We don't want to have vague findings. You want to be able to explicitly state what your findings are and how you came to those findings. And questionable data, there's studies out there where you don't really know how they came to get their data results. So we want to make sure that we avoid that. And there's unclear statements about the intent of the study. So we're going to learn how to make clear purpose statements for our study. And all of that can be found on page 7 in your textbook. Now, here's a figure, and this is the research process cycle. So it starts, we're going to identify the research problem. So you've formulated a question, you kind of found a lack in research in an area maybe, or maybe you want to add to existing research to kind of solidify an answer to a problem. And then after that, you're going to do a literature review. You're going to review other researchers' literature that has been published and that's been peer reviewed, and create a review of what is known about that topic. And then you're going to specify the purpose for your research is the next step. And then you get to collect data. So you get to decide how you're going to collect your data. What methods are you going to use? And then that brings you to the analyzing and interpreting your data. So that way you can go and report and evaluate your research. So these are the main 6 steps on how to conduct research. And these are going to be done within this course, and we're going to break it down and do step by step by step. So, identify the research problem. You're going to specify a problem, justify a problem, suggest a need to study the problem for your audience. You're reviewing the literature like we discussed. You're going to go and look for published articles from books, journals, electronic resources, and you're going to include them in your review. You're going to basically summarize what they have found, um, and then create your own literature review on that topic. Next, you're going to specify your research purpose. Like, why are you doing this study? You're going to identify the purpose statement. It's the major intent of your study. It's why. It's the why. Why are you doing this? You're going to identify the participants in your study and where your study is going to take place. You're not going to leave any vague misunderstandings. You're going to be very clear and concise with letting your audience know exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it. And you'll narrow down your purpose statement to research questions. And then the next step is you're going to collect data. So you're going to determine the data collection method. And there's many methods, and as you read your textbook, if you haven't done so already, you'll learn those. It's not an exhaustive list. You're going to select the individuals for the study, obtain permission where needed, especially if it's a qualitative study. You're going to design data collection instruments and outline data collection procedures. So you can do a survey. Then you gather your data. Okay, and the next is going to be on page 10 of your text. Analyze and interpret your data. So you'll read more into there. And so you're going to take a look at individual responses. You're going to represent it in different visual methods, like in tables, figures, and pictures, and explain the conclusion from your data and how it addresses your research questions. So how does your data back up or answer the questions that you've posed for your study? Next, you're going to report and evaluate your research. So you're going to determine your audience for the report, structure the report, write the report sensitively and accurately. Evaluate your research. You're going to assess the quality of research using recognized standards. Standards arise from the academic community, school districts, federal or state agencies. Here is a nice flow map of the research process through the quantitative and qualitative research. So you start with the research problem, you state your problem, you do a literature review, you have research questions. You decide, are you going to do a quantitative research approach or qualitative? And each of those, once you decide, you'll do your design. And then there's different methods. So you can do quantitative designs. Are you going to conduct surveys, experimental design, correlational design? Now here's your mixed methods. You're doing a bit of a quantitative approach and a qualitative approach. And then here's another popular one. It's the qualitative design. Are you going to do ground theory approach, ethnography, narrative approach? And then for each of these, you will interpret, you'll have a sampling, instrument protocols, data analysis. Oops. Okay, so now we get to learn more about quantitative research characteristics. So for quantitative, you're going to describe your research problem, give major role for the literature to suggest questions and justify the research problem, and create your purpose statements, your research questions, your hypotheses that are specific, narrow, measurable, and observable. Next, with your quantitative approach, you're going to collect your data from a large sample, analyze your data, and write your research report. Okay, similarly with qualitative, you're going to explore a problem and you're going to have literature to justify the problem. That's with your literature review. You're going to state the purpose and research questions in a general open-ended way. You'll collect data based on the words from a small number of participants. You'll analyze the data, and then you'll write your report. Okay, so similar characteristics between qualitative and quantitative. They both have that 6-step process that we talked about. And they both have introductions that will establish the importance of the research problem. And they both can use interviews and observations. Differences. Quantitative is more of a direct hypothesis and questions, while qualitative is more open-ended. Okay. Quantitative data is more close-ended, while qualitative is more open-ended. Quantitative is based on statistics, so you'll do a statistical analysis, while qualitative is more on text or image analysis. Quantitative reporting has a set structure for reporting, and then qualitative is more flexible. Okay, so factors in deciding to use quantitative or qualitative research. Match the type of research to your research problem. Fit the type of research to your audience. Relate the type of research to your experiences and training. So, what are you familiar with? What can you bring to the table? What are you passionate about? That's what you want to do. You want to do what you know and what your training has brought you to this point to do. So, there's types of quantitative and qualitative research designs, and they have primary uses. There's intervention research and non-intervention research. And then you can see that this intervention side says explains whether an intervention influences an outcome for one group as opposed to another group. So that's going to be your experimental research. Non-intervention, associating or relating variables in a predictable pattern for one group of individuals. That's how they correlate. And then survey, this is what everybody is mostly familiar with, is you just describe the trends for the population of the people through a survey research. Okay, so types of quantitative and qualitative research designs and their primary uses. And then we're going to go more deep into this as we get through the chapters. But this is just here to kind of brush over for you to kind of get a general idea of what you're going to be looking at. So you can decide what type of methods you want to use, what design are you going to use, what type of research do you want to do, quantitative or qualitative. There's a lot to decide, but the way that we're going to do it is it's going to be broken down step by step by step. So you're not going to feel overwhelmed as you're doing it. I'm going to help you go through each step. And before you know it, you'll be able to say, I did it. Okay. So types of quantitative and qualitative research designs and their primary uses. This is the last slide. So here's another mixed methods research approach. And this is popular. It does take more time to do, but it's a nice approach. I like it. And then you have action research. That's more of like, this is something that we're going to use once we get our results, and they'll be able to implement it. So, important ethical issues when conducting your research. You're going to have to get approval if you need to get approval. You're going to realize that there are guidelines from different associations that you must follow. There's ethical practices that good researchers will use, and you are respectful in your collection procedures as well as showing it and relaying it back to your audience. So, skills needed for research. You have to have a curiosity to solve puzzles. That will help you. You will have to learn to lengthen your attention span. So, as you're doing all of these steps, it does take attention to do that. There are library and computer resource skills that you will need, and I'll help you with learning where those are, where you can go and find your research journals, and to be able to do your literature review. And there's writing and editing skills that are needed, and especially following your APA manual. That's very important, and that will be a very good tool for you to use. Okay, so that is very quickly chapter 1 in a nutshell. But I do expect you to kind of go over the PowerPoint as you read through the chapter, take notes, put it into your 3-ring notebook binder. And then here you'll have the video that I am posting. They'll always be posted under learning activities. And then here's your learning assessments. You will have your weekly reflections to post there, and it will give you what is expected, and then you will be able to put in your response. And then also you will take notes, like I just said, when you read your chapter, and you can print out the PowerPoint slides and take notes directly on that if you would like. And then you will upload those weekly here. And that will be part of your overall grade. So if you have any questions, I am here to help you, to guide you, and to pray for you. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions regarding this, and I look forward to seeing what God has in store for us this semester. Take care and God bless.